Hello, what's
Well,
going on, people? Apologies for the noise in the background. It appears that my partner's triggered off the fire alarm, guys. But welcome to GunnerKing's court. This is awkward, but yeah, no, it's
live TV for you.
you know that, mate. We're going to be having strong words with her once the show is over. But yeah, no, it's obviously it's good to have you on, Gamza.
What's going on, brother?
Yeah, it's all good, man. All good. We've got loads of stories to discuss today. It seems like it really has been all systems go. So yeah, I mean, I think I was on the terrace earlier discussing a few things with Terry as well. Yeah, I mean, I think what we should do is perhaps look at this one first and foremost. Can you see that on the screen?
Yeah. Fabrizio Romano.
Yeah, Romano. He has spoken.
Yeah.
So yeah, these are his thoughts. Confident that we're going to sign Ben White from Brighton in the coming days, as reported by David Ornstein. Still in progress of negotiating the final fee. I suspect that will be kind of the makeup of the components, the add-ons and such,
bonuses and so on.
Yeah, that's it. And then it's also looking like Anderlecht midfielder Lokonga really wants to come to us. I can also add, some reports have also said, in addition to Atalanta in Italy, he was approached by Napoli, but has instructed his team that he's not interested. Quite simply, that he's only interested in coming to Arsenal. But Arsenal don't have any pulling power, and
we're not a big club.
Are out here outbidding us and all that.
Yeah, and all that malarkey.
Let's just not worry about that. I mean, the first thing that I wanted to question was, obviously the Ben White situation. What your thoughts are on that?
For me, I think everyone was in the same boat when we linked with Ben White. We linked with a centre back. That's an area we think we're quite covered in. Then it was never going to happen. 50 million. Arsenal are never going paying 50 million for a centre back. We needed one. We never spent 50, so there's no chance we're going to do it. And then more stories kept coming out, and it's actually maybe we are going for him. So I think this is a strange one. It might set me in a false sense of security and optimism, because we're doing something which we don't need to do, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not saying he's not going to be better than what we've got, but that was an area where we didn't need to invest 50 million. So if we're going to put 50 million there, what else are we really sitting on? What else are we going to do? I don't think it's going to be 50 million on Ben White and we're not doing anything else, so we're going to cut back in other areas. I feel it is actually 50 million in Ben White, plus we've got however much million to spend elsewhere. So yeah, it's a surprising one. This has shocked me, to be fair, because I just didn't see it happening. I didn't see him coming to Arsenal. So what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much similar. And it's what I've said to Terry. I've spoken to him a few times about this transfer as well. And yeah, I mean, it's how I feel as well. I mean, it's really left field that we're going in for a centre back first.
Yeah.
I think the argument that obviously David Luiz left this season, and in terms of the particular profile of centre back, he was the most progressive one in terms of ball carrying and passing. So yeah, I mean, in that sense, it made sense. But I mean, how much of a priority area was that? I mean, haven't we loaned out Saliba, who fits that profile, fits that mold?
Yeah, it looks like he's going out again.
Of him coming out, coming back. So I mean, it seems a bit chaotic in that sense with him coming back and then going out on loan again. Obviously, wasn't too happy with how the loan situation was handled last time. So my concern is there with that particular area. But other than that, look, I mean, it's great to see us doing business and doing it early, doing it quickly, going in for who we want, not messing around. going and getting him, basically.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know, in that respect, I guess I'm happy. And Lottie, we're going to get to this story in a minute because obviously it ties in with this. But obviously, Mavropanos has confirmed he will be remaining or going back to Stuttgart, as it were, on loan. But yeah, we need a minimum of 5 centre backs, I believe. With the rumours going round of the homegrown players leaving, I think it's a smart move, but does make Holding the most experienced then. Well, yeah, Holding and Armoury, really. I mean, Holding the most experience in terms of games for Arsenal and Prem experience. But Armoury, I guess, with the overall experience. And that's the other concern I've got. I mean, would you share that as well, Gumza? That yeah, I mean, you know, I think I agree with Lottie. I think the 4 to 5 centre back number would be what I would say a team needs to compete, but the experience level of them is quite low.
Yeah,
even when you add Ben White in there.
Yeah, so for me, 5 centre backs normally you would say yes. 4 because we're not in Europe, so I think with 4 we'd be comfortable. And obviously, if we do keep Chambers, that's your 5th. Do you know what I mean? So I'm happy with the numbers. We've got 2 that could play on the left, 2 that could play on the right, and Chambers could be the extra man if we really need him to be. So I'm happy with the numbers. Reference the experience. I understand how you want experience in your ranks. David Luiz missed a big chunk of this season. So I feel, yeah, we could do with an elder statesman in there, but yeah, sometimes, you know what, just give some of these boys a chance. And actually, if we improve the midfield around them and with a solid keeper at the back, that might make it a bit easier for that back four anyway. I think we're light in areas, and it's as we spoke about before. I mean, you think the same with returns of we feel as a team rather than be expansive and just have 2 centre backs having to do everything at the back. So yeah, I think the experience hopefully doesn't go against us. But I think with Holding, he's, as much as he hasn't played many games, he's played some big games for us. So he's played a lot of the FA Cup finals. He's played against some of the big teams. So I think his temperament is quite good because he's, you know what I mean, he's been played season. He's played 5 to 10 games and then has to come into a cup final due to injury. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's a massive concern for me, the age of it. I think sometimes you've got to give these boys a run out and see how they develop. Do you know what I mean? And I think that goes hand in hand with Saliba as well. I think his is a case of there's a lot of talk, which is understandable. When you're linked with a centre back, then we know there's going to be departures in that department. I don't think we're going to sell him unless a silly bid comes in for him. I do think Saliba? He will get. Yeah. I don't think we'll sell Saliba unless a bid of 40 million plus comes in where they think actually we've just made 12 million on him and he hasn't played the game for us. We'll take it. But I do feel he will go out on loan. So I think Holding will stay. And if we do get Ben White automatically goes in as first choice ahead of Holding. And I know Silver Fox won't enjoy that comment, but I think it's when you make that investment in someone, they're going to start. Do you know what I mean? So I do think Saliba will go out on loan. And I think a Prem loan would be good for him. Again, not trying to compare us with Chelsea, but Chelsea do have the biggest squad in terms of players going out on loan, and that 23 squad, they've got a massive squad. And if you look at a lot of their players, they do a loan in Holland first, which for us would be Saliba's loan in France, and then they do a loan in England. So if you look at the players that have come through, Reece James had a loan at Wigan where he played centre mid and right back. Tammy Abraham had loads of loans in the Championship, scored lots of goals down there, and Mason Mount had a loan in the Championship last year with Derby as well. So they have a method they follow where the guys go out on loan in Europe first, then they go out on loan in England to get that experience playing in England. And the one who hasn't done that loan actually probably plays the least minutes, which is Hudson-Odoi. He's the one that didn't do the loans. Yes, he got the bumper contract, but actually he hasn't, not saying he hasn't progressed, but you look at Reece James, he's a starter. Mason Mount's a starter. Yes, Tammy Abraham's in and around, and I get he's a striker's a bit different. Hudson-Odoi really had a chance to laminate a position in that team, and he's struggled to really secure a position. So a loan for Saliba in England might be a good thing for him. And then next year he'd be in. And if we get into Europe, then all of a sudden our games increase by about another 15 to 20 games in the season. So actually you do need the cover. So I think a loan for him this year would be good because I'd rather him play 38 games for Newcastle or Southampton rather than play 5 to 10 games for Arsenal. That's not good for him at this stage. So
Yeah,
I'm with
I mean,
alone.
I think yeah, if Saliba goes out on loan, it's got to be to a Premier League club. I don't think we'll sell him, and I think there's other rumours going around, or there is talk clamoring that also Ben White might play as a right back, or in sort of in the right back position as a bit more of an inverted kind of fullback, or one that is sort of inside in a back three, maybe where he plays on the right hand side, and then maybe a Saka is the actual on paper kind of right back. But what happens is he bombs into midfield, and then Ben White's on the end as the auxiliary kind of right back in that free system. I think, look, it gives us lots of tactical fluidity. I wanted to address this point here quickly, because I think what Laurie is mistaking here is when I say we need experience, I'm not talking about experience in every area of the pitch. Gums is obviously a football coach as well. So he will probably tell you that a defensive partnership and that balance, very often you have a more experienced player in it, coupled with an up-and-coming kind of usurper, who might have the talent, the ability to be a great defender, but hasn't made those mistakes, at that higher level that sort of more experienced player has. And I think you can have two very good defenders on paper put together, but if that balance isn't right, they're awful. I think Lindelof and Maguire are decent defenders, but their defensive partnership is always called into question because the balance isn't correct. And
it's also, you could throw Bailly into that, because Bailly's not a bad defender. And to be fair, when both of them are next to Maguire, they look more solid. When you put Bailly and Lindelof together, it's curtains. Do you know what I mean? And they're not bad players, but they do need that solid player. And to touch on what you've just said, Gunnar, I agree fully. I watched the Portugal game last night, and who was it got injured? The right back, Semedo, got injured, and Pepe's talking to him. And did you see Pepe was one that told the coach, take him off? Like, Semedo's looking to feel like, I think I'm all right, I can carry on. And Semedo and Pepe saying, I'm playing right centre back, and you're not going to hamper me. You got to come off and put another right back in there. So it's just that element of leadership. And again, it doesn't necessarily have to be with age. It's actually the quality of leadership. We've had young captains. Tony Adams at 21 was probably very, very mature, where you didn't need a 25-year-old, 30-year-old next to him. He had that level of intelligence. Do you know what I mean? So it comes down to, I think, not just the age, but actually the level of intelligence. How you're going to have someone. I remember I was watching like Arsenal players talking in the past and saying, you need that guy who's going to say, listen, for 5-10 minutes, you lot do not move out of this bank of four, or attackers don't even go and press the ball in there. We're under the cosh. Everyone get in deep. Just look after the game for 10 minutes and we'll readjust once we get control a bit. And it's that element of, you need that kind of leadership, someone who's going to take charge and control the elements around him. So if it's going against us, Pepe, get in and sit in there for 5 minutes. Let's get through this period because they're on top of us, and then we go back to our expansive ways. And I think Arsenal have lacked that player for a long, long time. So hopefully Ben White can be that guy for us.
And I think, but to answer Tony's question here, I think Ben White and his versatility will allow us to put his starting position in many different areas. But also, I think, what the modern game and what Arteta, Pep, who he's from the school of, are all very big on is game states and the formation having fluidity and being subject to change based on game states. I think, as I described with Ben White, maybe playing in the back three, for example, or filling in at midfield, but being able to drop in the centre back position, like say a Fabinho, who's played as a centre back and a right back as well. Because he's played in all three of those positions, being able to carry out that function within our team. So I definitely think, I think looking at it in that sense, it definitely makes it more of a positive transfer. but yeah, no, I think yeah, we'll look at the other news, I think, and how that kind of corresponds with this story. I mean, naturally, you know, we touched on the Conga deal in that tweet as well from Ornstein. Fabrizio Romano obviously breaking here as well that, as I mentioned, you know, he said that he is very keen to join Arsenal. He was the one actually that mentioned Napoli in addition to Atalanta. You know, the player mentioning that his priority is Arsenal. It's looking like this deal, for all intents and purposes, is very close to completing. What I want to ask, Gums, yeah, is how important do you think that is? That not only are we bringing players in, that we are bringing players in that want to be here. You know,
that's massive.
that are sending out that message. You know, Napoli are a big club. Atalanta have been on the up in the Italian league for some time now. They've got fantastic players and a good
Yeah, they
manager
do.
as
Yeah.
well. So I mean, you know, they can put together very attractive propositions for someone like him, and maybe even it could be argued a clearer path to the first team. But how important do you think that is that we are bringing in players that actually want to be here?
It's massive for me. You want players that understand what it's like to play for this club and want to play for this club. I feel the next couple of years will be the last time, if we don't get our act together, that we will see this. I think when you look at a lot of guys from France, a lot of guys from African nations, they all grow up on Arsenal. Do you know what I mean? So you would hear a lot of them talk, would be Armoury or Vieira were their idols. So these guys would have grown up with Armoury and Vieira in their prime, so they grew up on Arsenal. If we don't get our act together, we will see less and less of this, because as generations go on, I don't know if I said it on the pod or if it was just in conversation. Again, I do coach football, and I've recently been going around and coaching a lot of under nines, under eights, under sevens, just because I'm coaching older boys, and I enjoy actually going back to the younger ages. I don't see Arsenal shirts out there. I really don't see Arsenal shirts. And I make my point of going around and saying who supports Arsenal here, and I get a lot of silence. And I'll be honest with you, I'm based in Reading. I find a lot more Tottenham fans than Arsenal fans at the younger age group. So what you'll find in 15 years is some of these boys make it. They're not going to come around and say, I'm joining Arsenal because I've got a love for Arsenal. They're going to be going to your Cities, your Chelseas, and that's their, do you know what I mean, where they want to go and play football. So we do need to get our act together, because this here will stop in 10 to 15 years if we don't get it right. And it's starting to turn now. You're seeing the next gen aren't following Arsenal the same. Do you know what I mean? We've got a massive fan base, and unless we install our kids to be Arsenal fans, a lot of them will look elsewhere because we're not doing the right things. And yeah, it's encouraging to see Lokonga as one who wants to join Arsenal, and that's where he wants to play his football. Like you said, it's that pathway as well. He might get more opportunities. He's probably seeing what Arteta is doing with the youngsters. And again, you're looking at to grow with that. If you've got Saka, he's a young age. You got Smith Rowe. Pepe's not old. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, if Lokonga comes in, he's a good age. Balogun's on the verges. The back line, Gabriel's young. Saliba's young. If Ben White comes in, he's young. So actually, if you look at that to say, yeah, these could be my teammates for the next 4 or 5 years, we're moving in a good direction. So I think that helps. He can probably see there is a pathway to the first team. And I think it's that love for Arsenal, which Henry and Vieira have given that generation, and the rest of them as well, Pires and all those guys there, Sol Campbell, they're Toy, they're integral. So, yeah, it's happy to see, but at the same time, I'm nervous if we don't get our act together, we will lose that appeal for a lot of players coming from them kind of nations. We will lose that appeal.
Yeah, I think that's why we need to act now, and we need to act fast to stop that. Because I used to remember the same thing, you know, like, you know, obviously you met me when I moved to Reading. You know, before that, I lived here in West London, where I went to school. It was all Arsenal United. You know, there was some Liverpool. There was some Liverpool. There was absolutely no Chelsea. There was absolutely no Spurs fans. I mean, like literally like a select handful. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, whereas the school was divided.
Arsenal or United.
And you know, obviously, this was before Henry. This was, you know, in the 80s.
Yeah,
you know,
Ian Wright played a massive part. It was Ian Wright. You know what I mean?
Wright, John Barnes had a big following as well. So, you know, he converted a lot of Liverpool fans. I went with my local team. Well, I went with a London team, basically. I didn't want to support a team outside of London. So and then obviously the era of Wenger came in, Armoury, Vieira, Petit, your Limburgs, your Bergkamps, and that kind of elevated us to another stratosphere in terms of our fan base. The size that it swelled up to, and just the excitement around the club. And I agree. Like, now that I actually live here, in North London, literally a couple of stops away from the stadium. So, when I first moved back to London as an adult, I lived on Blackstock Road, so I was literally round the corner from the stadium.
Yeah,
and I think some of that excitement has gone. It's been going, steadily through the Kroenke regime. And I think that's why you see me the way you saw me on the Gunslingers yesterday. Like, where it's like,
I get your passion.
Boots on the ground. Watch this happen. Like with people coming to the ground, like the numbers dropping, people not going to games, people not buying merchandise, people not being excited or interested about the players.
Do you know? It's even, you could look at the Euros. Like, the only time we've been able to get excited this Euros is watching Saka. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So as much as we're supporting England, or you support France, or whoever you support, if you got an Arsenal player in that team. So I remember growing up watching competitions and supporting Sweden, or wanting Sweden to do well because of Freddie. You want Wales to do well because of Ramsey. And I still have that love for Ramsey. Do you know what I mean? He wasn't my favorite player, but I love watching Wales play and just watching what he does in that game. And he always has an impact. So no Arsenal fans being able to be excited about the Euros until Saka played. And yes, we gave it a lot. We gave it a lot because he was unbelievable. But it's that mentality. Do you know what I mean? I watch the kids who don't know much about football, and they support. I say you just got Liverpool. Why? Mo Salah. Like, they just got an affinity for one player. You'll find kids from England at 6 years old support Juventus because of Ronaldo. So we was that. Do you know what I mean? Teams would naturally support Arsenal because of Henry. Even Walcott was a reason. My son, like, he had no choice. He was an Arsenal fan. The first thing I brought him when I found out his mum was pregnant was an Arsenal kit. He had no choice. But he grew up, and everything with him was just Theo Walcott, because that's all he knew. He knew he was fast, and he had a good haircut, and that was him. He was Walcott. Do you know what I mean? For 2, 3, 4 years of his life, it was Walcott. So you identify with players. Our player was Ian Wright. Do you know what I mean? And like you said, John Barnes had a big following for the Liverpool fans. So for us growing up, it was Ian Wright. It was, you're trying to find where, do you know what I mean? In the world where you don't know much, you're trying to find what you connect to. And to me, it was Ian Wright. Do you know what I mean? It was like, this guy, he's everything. What, do you know what I mean? Aspirations, like, oh my God, just the attitude, the swag, the cheekiness of the smile, like everything about Ian Wright endeared you to it. And it was like, you followed Arsenal for that. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I do feel we're lacking that. Do you know what I mean? Hopefully Saka can bring that, or somebody can bring that back, because a lot of these young kids.
It literally is Saka, really.
Yeah, I think Smith Rowe would carry that as well. But yeah, at the moment it's Saka, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think, like, I also, just like as an aside there, what you were saying about the Euros, I think we've only got 4 players in the tournament.
I'm not getting behind Granit Xhaka anyway.
They're not first teamers, because obviously got Leno. He's not playing.
He's not playing.
Saka's been a bit part. Obviously, he had his great one game in his last game.
Granit Xhaka, I'm not supporting.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, he's still our player for all intents and purposes, but
yeah, I'm not getting behind Xhaka.
I don't think he's going to be at the end of the summer. So
even if he was signed a 5-year contract, I can't get behind him. He everything I don't like about this club at the moment.
Are there any more?
Cedric, I don't even know who. There was 4, but I can't remember who the
I think Cedric's in the Portugal squad. Maybe.
Who else have we got?
Was he in the provisional squad?
I'm not too sure.
Know, but look, it's
Tierney. And again, I got behind Tierney. Yeah. I got behind Tierney.
So that's the lowest number that I can recall for a long time at an international tournament from Arsenal Football Club. So if you want a barometer of where we are now, where we've come from and where we need to go, that for me is it. Literally, that is it. That is the mirror being held up to me as an Arsenal fan right now, in terms of where we are. And I think that ties in with your point perfectly in terms of, what we need to do, and quickly, to get this done. But yeah, like, moving on to the next story that I wanted to speak about. I think, this one.
Yeah.
I mean, this one seems a bit. Well, I'll let you have your thoughts on it first, but look, obviously, look, he looks like a good player to me,
Yeah.
Isak. I'm not doubting his quality, but is this? I mean, it's the same thing that we were saying with Ben White. Is this the area that we need to spend? I mean, his release clause is 60 million euros. So do we need to spend just north of 50 million pound on a striker right now?
If our budget was 110, no. If what it looks like to me, our budget is significantly bigger than we think, then actually it might be something to go and get done. I feel with this one, I don't know what Chelsea are up to, but I know Chelsea are looking for a striker. Is this one where we think we got to go and get this tied down early before Chelsea can't release? Do you know what I mean? If they are in for Haaland, like reports are saying, they're going to go heavy for Haaland. If they can't get it done, they might turn their attention to Isaac. So is this a case of get this one over the line before Chelsea react? Because if Chelsea come knocking, he's gone over there. He looks good. He really does. I know his scoring record isn't the greatest. Not saying it's bad, but obviously I know you was talking yesterday about the boy at Stuttgart, the one that was at AC Milan. Yeah, I know Frankfurt. I know you was looking at his. And again, sometimes not saying his record at Milan wasn't great. He looked good. It wasn't great. Obviously, he's gone to Stuttgart and he's absolutely hit the floor running.
On Frankfurt.
Frankfurt, sorry. Frankfurt. I couldn't think of Mavropanos.
My girlfriend's brother-in-law wouldn't be too happy to hear you say.
I apologize.
I've been bantering him all day about having to play Germany next Tuesday. So
yeah.
For all I know, you might be watching.
I think what Isaac probably gives you is just that presence, that size. I think when you look at Silva, he's more in the mold of a Lacazette physically. And I think Lacazette's been our best striker this year. But I think Isaacs has got a bit more presence. And the way Arsenal played last year, we needed someone to get on the end of some of the balls that were coming in from the wide area. So I think he offers you... We haven't... I know obviously Giroud was that guy for us, but I think he's got an element of Giroud with the size, but then he's got... Not saying he's got more to his game, but he's got more pace to his game than Giroud had. So I think he's, again, I think it's giving us a different option if we do go for him. I do think this is kind of signaling Lacazette will be leaving. We weren't really linked with a striker at the start of the window, so I was thinking maybe Lacazette is staying, but now we've heard Silva and Isaac we've been linked with. So I think that will mean the end of Lacazette. And again, I'll be sad to see him leave. I fully understand it if he does go this year. And actually, I'd rather we let him go and make a bit of, not make money, but get a bit of money back for him rather than hold on trying to get him to sign another deal. And it's either he stings us for 300,000 a week or 250 a week, or we lose him on a free. Actually, just make a decision now. If he's going to go, let him go, get a replacement in. He's a good age, this Isaac kid. He can learn from Aubameyang for a year or two with not much pressure on him. I think Abba still would be first choice for a year or two, and then he would then break in. And then you got him and potentially Balogun as your two strikers. I think if he does come in, I think that means Balogun needs to go out on a loan. But again, we're building for the future. If we can get him for under 60, because again, I know the release clause is 60, but it doesn't mean he's going to cost us 60. If we can get him for under 60, then I'm for it. Do you know what I mean? Because he's not going to lose value because he's such a young age. If we sold him in 4 or 5 years, you're still going to make your money back on him, potentially make more.
If a deal can be negotiated below that release clause, perhaps. But one thing I'll say about Silva is he's 6 foot as well.
He's not small.
Yeah, he's not small. He's a big lad basically, and his ability as well technically is obviously very good. He's good. Links up really well with Kostic, especially. But you've got Kramaric. They had Rebic there before.
They got pretty good players. Their team's quite tidy.
They got good players, man. And like his overall play in terms of in their system isn't like as an out and out striker. It's like a blend of like the target man, but but more of a diminutive one, you know, like more dynamic, you know, that has a bit more freedom than just staying in the box and waiting for the crosses to come in. You know, it's they very much play ball in a similar mold to us, a similar system as well on the ground. You know, balls into the box that he can get on the end of, which I like the idea of. I mean, with Isak, my concern really is, I think, in what you said about the minimum fee release clause being 60 million and not meaning we have to pay it. In what world, I think, would you say that him having a good tournament is going to incentivize Sociedad to accept anything less?
That's
and
true.
then also on top of that, with the other clubs that are going to come in for him as well, you're looking at a bidding war. Pretty much, you know, the similar situation with Buendia and Villa, you know, where that drives up the price, or where you're no longer in control of the terms and conditions of the transfer. Because with Buendia, what the reason why we pulled out is now that we have to either match the structure of the deal. Matching the money wasn't a problem.
I don't think Buendia is our first target anyway.
It's the fact that we thought if we can get him for this cheap, he's worth getting.
Yeah.
But now that Villa have come in and offered to pay more of it up front, and they've changed the structure that doesn't suit us, we're putting out. And it's not because we don't want the player, it's because we're no longer in control of the fee, the structure, you know, the arrangements, etc., etc. It's now being dictated by other third-party variables that we have no control over. In this case, another bidding club. And I really think that this tournament is going to be that kind of tournament for Isak, where the further Sweden go, the more Sharks start swooping. And then with that, you know, you got to think where we are right now as a football club, in terms of attracting players. Maybe we could pull that off, but again, from the player's perspective, if he's got other clubs that are, say, competing in Europe or that have more recently, you know, in the Champions League spots or whatever, then he's in control of his wage terms and all of the other things. So
he puts himself in a strong position.
Yeah, really. And I just think I need to see more from him than a good Euro 2020 or /21. I need to see more from him before I can say that is a player I would stake my house on hitting the ground running after spending 60 million on him.
Yeah. My thing with, I said, De Silva, it reminds me of the Luka Jovic. You know, when he had that great season at the same club, didn't he? And he went to Madrid for big money.
And Haller as well, Sebastian Haller that went to West Ham from the same club as well.
It could be the same with Isaac, isn't it? It's a risk when you're paying that kind of investment in these young players sometimes. And they come and you never know. And this is again, we not say we don't watch football, but we're very reactive. We link with them now. Also, I'm going to do a bit of research on them. Because again, I didn't hear no one. I know we weren't really talking about strikers before the window started, but no one would have mentioned Andre Silva, his name at all before we got linked with him. So I think what Isaac showed me in that Spain game,
he only popped up on my radar in the middle of the season because you know my catch-ups with him. With
you got more. Yeah, you got more of an eye on the German league, haven't you, than me? But
they always involve him being like to me, "Oh yeah, do you see the games?" Like he would ask me about the games. He knows he's checked the score, but that's his way of bantering me, you know. Like, and then he would be like, "Yeah, Andre Silva scored again." You need to and then I'd put it on the BT Sports basically, and then just be like, "Yeah, this guy looked good." Like,
Now, I'll be happy with. Do you know what, with me at this moment in time, it might sound mad. I'm not actually fussed who we buy because you know what? We're linked with the right profile of player. I can't say I've scouted players more than any of the Arsenal scouts because I haven't. Do you know what I mean? The most I'm going to get is I might get a look of someone once you've been linked. I might try and find some YouTube videos. I'd refer to Football Manager a lot. That's my game. Everyone knows me. That's my game. So
again, when you lose with some unbelievable on the latest Football Manager.
He's different. So, but do you know what? For me, more than actually who we're signing, actually just the profile of players we're going for, it's exciting me. Like Isaac could come in and be an absolute flop, or Andre Silva could come in and be an absolute flop. But you know what? It's a bit like Saliba. He hasn't done anything for Arsenal, but actually we're not even worried about losing money on Saliba, really and honestly. Do you know what I mean? It is what it is. If he's not playing, look at our mentality just now. If Saliba don't play and he goes out on loan, so be it. If he has a good loan somewhere, if we did sell him, we'd probably make our money back, haven't lost anything. Whereas look at the Willian situation. When we link with Willian, look at the arguments that's coming from that. No one's arguing about Isaac or Andre Silva or Ben. Do you know what I mean? It's not really arguments. It's just more about, should we be doing that? Like, is that our priority? But actually, if we do go and get the right back, but don't get me wrong, that could change in a minute. If we do what you mentioned before, where we went and signed Pepe and didn't get the centre backs, if we went and got Ben White and Isaac and then got some Kyle Walker-Peters, even though he's not a bad player, but if we got who's we linked with the other day? Kenny from Everton.
John Joe Kenny from Everton.
So we went and got Kenny and
Bertrand in Scotland.
He went on loan into Germany, and then he went on to Scotland. So we ended up with Kenny and Bertrand as your right back and left back, but then Ben White and Isaac up front, and that's 115 million we spent on them two. I'd be thinking, what have we done here? Like we're a bit off balance. Do you know what I mean? So, but at the moment, like either one of them two, I'd be interested to see what they can do. I think difference, I think, with Isaac and Silva. I think if Silva comes in, he'd probably demanding more first team football straight away. I think if Isaac comes in, he'd 100%. Understand he's going to be an understudy to Aubameyang for a year or two, with the view of then you'll be the main man. And I just think, again, when I called for a striker, I said the Calvert-Lewin-esque player, someone who would get on the end of things and just be a bit more physical against the centre backs. Isaac, I think, fits that more. What I saw Isaac do against Spain impressed me, because he didn't score, but actually he was isolated up front by himself, and he managed to keep hold of the ball and bring others into the game and got his team up. And when I'm watching Arsenal, that's what Aubameyang lacked this year, because we were defending so deep. When he got the ball, he lost it sometimes pretty easy. So actually, when I watched that, I thought, well, that's like watching Arsenal. We're defending deep. Like, for instance, he took the Chelsea game, we can't get the ball. When it goes up to the striker, I need him to hold it, let them get the pressure off. And Isaac did that very well against Spain. So that is what made me think he might be the right one for Arsenal right now.
The game that sticks out to mind for me, and what you're saying about someone who is a bit taller and a bit more physical, he's good on the ground and he's quick, but obviously with his height comes his aerial ability as well. The game that sticks out to mind is when we obviously lost at home, away from home to the Trophy Dodgers. And in the second half, we were all over them, and raining in crosses into the box. Arteta's come out in his full-time kind of roundup to the media and the press, and he said, "Look, we were creating chances. Look at how many crosses we got into the box. What good is that for two strikers that haven't even scored double digits of goals from headers in 100%. All of their time playing at Arsenal Football Club together? That makes no sense." So
100%.
I mean, if I think that's, for me, is the most compelling reasoning behind why I would be keen to see Isak or someone like him come to the club. But I just think, look, we could scour the market, and I really think if we look hard enough, we can find better for that money.
Do you know what as well, though?
I really
just for me, like, sometimes, again, looking at a bigger picture. So I think for Aubameyang to perform, he needs everything in the right place in order to get the best out of Abba. I'll be honest, the future for Arsenal for me is built around, and I know I've been critical of Nicolas Pepe, but if he can continue the form he showed me the last 5 games, I'm more than happy with him on the right. Smith Rowe you don't know how I feel about Smith Rowe and Bukayo Saka. Them 3 are my 3 mains. So
I mean,
it's an element of me of getting them a striker. Yeah, and even that, to me, the future for Arsenal, Partey's there. He's the here and now. I think
and Partey's quite old, isn't he, as well?
Yeah, so the future for me, the future for me is that 3. Like, we can build whatever it is around, but that 3 is the future. So you bring a striker in to complement them 3. I'll use an example of Giroud in France isn't the best scorer, but actually what he does is the rest. He complements the rest. Chelsea, Hazard, love Giroud. So do you know what? You just be the big wall. I get it into you. you give it back to me in space, and I'll go punish. So by having Isaac there,
that's
and
why,
in Chelsea, sorry, just one
got
second.
so many goals as well at the World Cup when he played with him.
And again, Chelsea, for me, when you look at Lampard, yes, Essien and Makelele were vital. Lampard scored a lot of goals, but Drogba, bullying two centre-backs, created the space for Lampard to execute. So actually, if you get Isaac in there and he's just there to occupy, when you've got the nimbleness of Smith Rowe, Pepe and Saka working off him, that's what we lack. That's why Lacazette looked better up front than Aubameyang. It wasn't because Lacazette's a better goal scorer or striker, but actually he brought the others into play.
Brings the other players in,
which helps us. So again, I think that signing to me, he might not score the same amount of goals as your striker. And if you look at a lot of teams now, the goals aren't actually coming from the main striker. A lot of the goals are coming from the wide players. So again, you look at Liverpool, Mo Salah and Mane score a lot more than Firmino. Do you know what I mean? So Firmino's job's not
creating space for those guys to be able to be in scoring positions.
So Firmino's job's not to score the goals. Actually, it is to create space and bring in Mo Salah and Mane to score the goals. And I think whatever striker we get now will be the same. It will be to get Pepe scoring more, get Saka scoring, get Smith Rowe scoring. So I think, yes, Silva probably gets more goals, but you might have to build your team different around that. Same as Aubameyang. If we want to get the best out of Abba, we have to build the team different to get the best out of Abba. I feel that three is the future of Arsenal.
Can I add a fourth player? Martinelli.
Yeah, he's another one. He's another one. So again, between him, Pepe, Saka, because again, long term it might be Pepe comes out and Martinelli. I'm not sure where they're going to play Martinelli, but yeah, I feel that's the basis of what we're going to build around. So yeah, that's why sometimes you take away the goals, and again, you've seen arguments. And I know you're a firm believer of the eye test, and also actually there's more to life than just who scores the goals. Sometimes it's about the collective. Do you know what I mean? So
100%.
We can't deny Abba's goal scoring, but as a team,
only 2 or 3 goals came from midfielders.
We didn't score enough last year. We did not score enough from midfield. That was big miss.
Again, like people, what I've said on the last few shows, people look at our lack of creativity and they might think that's a personnel issue with the people in the creative positions. But you could look at it as, in this case, if you bring that striker in that's able to complement and bring in those other attacking midfielders, much like a David Trezeguet could.
Yeah, that's a great shout, Canners. Yeah,
with Juventus and France, then what that can do is that can improve the scoring ability of those attacking midfielders.
Yeah,
you
get goals all around.
A striker that can help them get the ball in better positions to score goals.
Yeah,
this is how you think about football.
And again, that's what I said about Giroud with France. He won, was it the World Cup they won, and he didn't score a goal, but he was one of the most important members of that team. And
he did score goals at that tournament.
There was one tournament he didn't score, and they won it. But it might have been the Euro. I can't remember which one it was, but he didn't score, and they won the tournament. But again, what he brings to the team is he's occupying the centre backs. And I'll be honest, Saka and Smith Rowe in and around the box are dangerous. Like, they're dangerous. You know what I mean? So
I would say those who need to work on their finishing.
Yes.
Because to tie in with what I said, I do think they could be helped by more of a link play kind of striker to help them to get into scoring positions. But the scoring positions that Saka in particular got into, I don't think he was clinical enough in all of those. Now, a lot of that can come down to how many games he played, how much he was relied on. But I don't think it's his natural thing, because when he was coming through the youth ranks, he was trained very much as a winger whose main sort of MO was to create goals before scoring them. So that's what, and accordingly, he was trained to do. So I think it's something they do need to improve on these areas as well. I think Martinelli less so. Pepe, I would say, of those 4 is the most clinical.
Yes, definitely.
Even he could be more clinical.
Yeah, no doubt. But as I said, for me, it's just exciting. Like, I haven't felt like this about an Arsenal team for a long time, I'll be honest. And this, to me, is a window where we're linked with the right personnel. It's just massive. Do you know what I mean? And I said, I've always said, I don't know if Arteta is or is not the right man. And I hope for him, he does well.
Yeah, I mean, I really do
But
as well. You know,
I
I
think
like him
but I
because
think whatever he does, he leaves us in a better position than than he inherited, and that's the most important thing for my tenure with him. If he starts off badly and he gets sacked, and a new manager comes in and he can secure top four, I think we have to applaud what Arteta's done. Yes, he didn't get the right results on the pitch,
but
FA
he's
Cup or
definitely in
not,
terms of
but actually
the
he's
backroom
put the
setup,
team.
getting rid of the players, as you're
And,
saying.
and if you're honest, look how long we've been questioning Ozil for.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't something new. Do you know what I mean? And he was the one who stood up and said, you know what, I'm not taking it no more. He's got to just, he's not even riding the bench. He's got to just come out of the whole squad. He can train, but he ain't in that squad this year. Do you know what I mean? So it's taken a young, inexperienced man to make big, bold decisions. And again, it might not come under his tenure. It might be 2 years down the line, we reap the rewards of what Arteta's done. And we will look back at it. And that's why I had that analysis with Wenger of Wenger done amazing things. And yes, we're reaping the rewards of Wenger because the Congo coming to Arsenal is probably down to Wenger's work. Do you know what I mean? So
Definitely
we'll be
the
honest
Wenger
with
era,
it.
yeah.
But at the same time, where Wenger left us, actually, a lot of what Arteta's had to undo is actually from that era, because a lot of them contracts that were given under Wenger and Gazidis. A lot of the bad investment was under that as well. And not saying Emery's perfect, but I think Emery had less to do with the squad. I think his role was head coach, and that was when we had Sven, Raul Sanele, a lot of guys who were behind the scenes. And I don't think Emery had much to do with the transfers. Emery came out and said, I wanted Saha, they gave me Pepe. Emery had nothing to really do with Torreira. He had nothing to do with Martinelli. He had nothing to do with Guendouzi. Like, that was all those guys behind the scenes. So I think Emery, the one thing Emery, I think, I'm not even going to blame him for it, was the Ramsey thing. And actually, do you know what? I agree with him. When Ramsey's come out and tried to hold us to ransom, I agree that actually you can't treat us like that. So, do you know what I mean? So I think Emery gets a hard time, but his job was head coach. He wasn't meant to be involved in transfer. He was given a team to coach. He coaches them. So I judge Emery on results. I judge Wenger, Gazidis, Edu, and Arteta on actually the squad and results. Do you know what I mean? I think Arteta's got a lot more say in what's happening than what Emery was given. In all honesty. So, as I said, I think he will leave us in a better position than he got the team, which means regardless of where he ends up, if he gets fired by Christmas, October, he has a whole season, in 3 years, we might turn around and say, actually, what Arteta done for this club was needed, and we've got to give him his rewards for that. Even if he doesn't get top four in his tenure with Arsenal, he might leave us in a better position than how he found us. So, that's time will tell.
If it doesn't work, then I think there is no case for bringing in an inexperienced manager again.
Yeah.
And what they've done with the players now, in terms of, right, here's a large chunk of money, it seems. I don't want to speak definitively that we have
and I can understand that because
it seems like we've got there or thereabouts, or we're going to make it from sales or whatever. I don't know, but I think if it doesn't work with Arteta, they're going to probably do the same with the manager. You know, have a heavier budget on a more experienced, seasoned manager. But I really want it to work out with Arteta personally.
Yeah, but I'll be honest. If you're just say you're a manager and we're cool, I don't know. Let's think of a manager. I don't know. Give me a manager who's not top of the tier like Pep or Klopp, but he's kind of middle tier. So who's the Leipzig manager?
Ten Hag, I would say, is slightly above middle tier, but
he's not. Go Ten Hag. I like Ten Hag. That's a good shout. He's a project man. I like. So we say Ten Hag. Could you imagine him coming in with what Arteta had? So if you're him and I say, right, come into Arsenal with this team here, where Ozil doesn't want to train and play properly, he's on big money. He's
not
friends
so much
with
what he had, but the control in the board, you know, because
even if you give him. Yeah, and again, just on a basic level, if you gave him that Arsenal squad, which is aging, there's players running out of contracts, there's what we say is what we believe is Ozil's got a massive influence in the dressing room and he doesn't like certain things. He then influences Kolasinac and some others. You then got Guendouzi's doing the madness. Like, you think of all what Arteta had to inherit, players that aren't worth anything, not a big budget. Or you say 2 years later, Ten Hag comes in and he's got this fresh team with Ben White, Saliba, Gabriel, Tierney, whoever the right back is, Partey, Lokongo, potentially Basuma, Smith Rowe, who's had 2 good years, Saka, Pepe. If we get Isaac, imagine taking that team and saying, right, this is my project. I got a great 5-year project with this, and it doesn't need much. Do you know what I mean? I could add a little bit of seasoning here and there, but the basis is where you want it to be. Whereas when coming in 2 years ago, that needed a lot more work than we ever imagined. You know what I mean? Like, you talk about, you got your main centre midfielders giving away the most goals, or the most mistakes leading to goals. You got a centre back who give away mistakes religiously with his partner as Mustafi. So imagine Louise and Mustafi with Granit Xhaka as your core. That's your core.
Thanks.
Like,
no thanks.
Do you know what I mean? So when you look at it, it hasn't been. Do you know what I mean? Like, we've got to be. I know on paper our team doesn't look as bad sometimes as what it's shown. Like, you look on paper at our players, you're thinking you've got to do better with that. It's better than what Wenger used to work with, but there's a lot of flaws in that team. Do you know what I mean? So I do feel wherever we end up in 2 years' time, whether it's with Arteta or without Arteta, I think we're in a lot healthier position going forward. And as you said, when you got them, if you just say that squad is, and you got Partey is your oldest player at 28, so you might not sell Partey. He then becomes, you know what I mean, the guy who leads you forward for another 5 years. He might dwindle out of 32, but actually you're talking Lukonga, you're talking Ben White, you're talking Pepe, Martinelli, Saka. If we don't have to sell one of them guys, you're talking, it's your 90 millions. Do you know what I mean? Inflation is going to happen naturally. Teams are going to have more money when COVID eases. You're now talking, if I've got Martinelli or Saka or Pepe on a 5-year contract and you want to come and buy him, you've now got to prize him away from me. Not no more of these guys' contracts are running down and they want to leave and we're going to just take 30 million. We don't get good value for our players. And that will move us on nicely to Mavropanos because I think the value's terrible we got for him.
I can't believe that. Yeah, it's crazy, you know. But Silver Fox says, be excited. I don't want to use that strap line because it came out of one of those Kroenke's mouths. So I'm going to rephrase it to I'm optimistic.
Yeah.
Growing in optimism. Yeah. I'm not gonna.
This is not saying we're Kroenke in the two guys.
Those guys in the boardroom because we've been there and seen it and done it. But I think you know, there is cause for optimism.
Yeah. And this is not saying we're Kroenke in and we forgive them for what they've done in the past.
I'll never
but I think on a ground level of a team going into next season, if we secure some of these players we've been talking about, I'm happy with that. Do you know what I mean? Going forward, I'm a lot happier than I was last year and the year before, and for many years before that. That's it.
You know, but yeah, like that. You know, that takes us to the last story that we're going to discuss today. Chris Wheatley breaking the Mavropanos to Stuttgart should be announced today. Loan with an obligation and not an option to buy. Expecting it to turn into a permanent move next summer. I'm very sad by this move. I'm hearing that the fee, according to another report I saw, was as little as 5 million in total with sell-on clause. If you know, there's all kinds of ratchets in it that if they're relegated, it might be a cheaper fee or something like that. So seems like we're very committed to getting him off our books. And what I can't understand about this is, you know, when he came in, we loaned him out. And it's not like he's been loaned out and his form has been questionable. Without question, it's been very good. You know, the reports that have come from his coaches have been very good. The same brother-in-law of my partner, you know, who I talk about that supports Frankfurt, you know, I'm getting messages from him week in, week out. You know, what on earth is this guy doing on loan when your defense is that poor? You know, he said it on numerous occasions, you know, and he knows his football, you know, like, you know, so, you know, I've obviously trusted him, watched, you know, some of the Stuttgart games as well and seen it for myself. You know, he's very good in the air. You know, he does take the ball out of defense. I mean, he's 6'2", I think, 6'3".
He's aggressive as well, man.
Ball as well, you know, and technically he's got so much better in Germany and with Stuttgart. He's the guy that's bringing the ball out of defense and he's making these diags, you know, into the fullbacks overlapping or the wide men, you know, that are coming inside the pitch or that are hugging the touchline for space, and he's finding them, you know, with really good accuracy. You know, obviously I put his stats up there. You know, I think a few days ago when we did a show together, his defensive passing range, for all intents and purposes, is pretty much matched, very close to Saliba's. You know, so for a player to go out, do well, you know, and then for us to be buying Ben White in his position when he hasn't had a chance. I mean, has it really been that he's seen something in him that is that bad? Or I know it's probably like he's saying, well, it's the profile, you know, and not the abilities of the player that are leading us to sell him on. But one, for so cheap, seeing as he was on a loan that was successful.
This was the one that baffles me the most.
It's just I just don't. It's very questionable.
Yeah, and you know,
and I want to wish him all the luck. First of all, you know, I want to wish him the best of luck because, you know, I liked him. I've been excited to see him come back, and now it looks like he isn't. So,
do you know what? For me, if we sell him or keep him is one thing. It's the price of it. Like, the price doesn't make sense to me. Do you know what I mean? It's I think he had a couple of years left on his contract. Do you know what I mean? Because again, it's not even like it's a transfer this year and he's going next. He'll go on a free next year. He still would have had at least another year on his contract because it's a loan and they're buying him next year. Whereas they would have loaned him this year and he would have joined them on a free next year. The price tag is very, very strange. Again, if you got a player at the end of his career, Willian, Mustafi, you took 3 million for him, just take your money and go. Do you know what I mean? You're not going to get anything up for him. This one, it shocks me. Like, you should have just loaned him out without the obligation. That 5 mil, and this is maybe where the Kroenkes could step in and say, yo, not 5 million. 5 million. I would, that's pocket change. 5 million is like me telling my son, don't buy Roosters, go and get a proper Nando's. Let me give you the extra £4 and get a proper Nando's. So to me, it should be a case of if he's going out on loan, fine, but you're not putting that buyout clause in there because you know what? He's easily a 10, 15 million player. And I know you're talking 5 mil extra. And they might be saying, you know what, if the Kroenkes are saying, you know what, don't even haggle, just get him out and we top up the money, then fair enough. But to me, you loan him out. It's just, this feels rushed. Like, why rush the loan? Unless he's desperate to get there and he's saying, please, any cost, let me go. And we said, right, do the option.
We don't know what's happening behind closed doors, but first of all, what I just want to say is very quickly. I'm sorry, I just want to shout out James Wright. He was he was on the terrace as well earlier. A few discussions after me, and man, he was talking sense. We had a guy between us, can't remember his name. He was a bit triggered, a bit reactionary. I'll tag you in the clip later because Terry's actually put it up. He's put it on his wall, and he kept using the word tragic. And then this guy James came on, gone back into the chat room, and I've just listened to him. And he was talking some sense. So like James, appreciate you coming to show some love on the show. And it may be good to have you on at some stage. But back to Mavropoulos, what you were saying, just very quickly. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there, but
no, that's fine. That's fine.
You look at the Odegaard situation. You know, as a club, this is someone we were desperate to bring in terms of the quality and the profile. So when Real Madrid, as you said, you know, in terms of what we should have done, have said, look, we are not putting any price, we're not putting any ceiling on what we'd expect you to pay, and then at the end of the season, you're going to have to pay what we tell you to pay. And if you don't like it, you're not getting him.
Because it's weird that we've limited ourselves because, again, even like your brother-in-law is saying, why we haven't got a deal with Stuttgart. Do you know what I mean? We could loan him to Stuttgart for a year, but then if other teams want him, they might come in and say, he's had a great season down there. We're taking off you, Arsenal, for however many million. Again, just hold him in the ranks for a bit because it's very early in the window. So we don't know who's going to go where. So all of a sudden, you might find teams who now end up selling the centre back and now are desperate to replace him. So all of a sudden, they might now give you 15, 20 mil for him. Do you know what I mean? Again, we don't know what the conversations are. I do like one thing I do like is the structure of the deal. To a certain, not saying the finances are wrong, but actually the fact we've put a sell-on clause in it
Yeah,
It'd
and
be
I think
interesting to know.
this is what James has touched on here, and I didn't
Yeah.
realize it was for that much either.
Well, it's 20 to 30%.
20
So
to
again, depending on what they're
30%.
selling for, if they sell him for 20 mil, then you're talking 20% of 20 mil is not major. But again, that could still bump it to
That's
10.
5 million.
Yes,
So all in
so
all, that
it
would
could
take it up
bump
to
it
like.
to, we're talking 10, 15. It could potentially bump up to 10, 15 anyway with the sell-on clause. So actually, do you know what I mean? It's sad to see him go for so cheap because again, he's not one of the players I think any of the fans want to force out the club. So it's a cheap transfer, but again, it could raise up with bonuses, and again, then bonuses could be in every season. You never know how it's structured. It could be every year you survive, you've got to give us another mil, or if he gets called up for the international team, we want another 500,000. If you make it into Europe, there's another 2.5. Do you know what I mean? It could be structured anyway. And one thing I still say with these guys are they seem to be better at putting some clauses in than what we've seen in the past. So he's never really played for us, so we might not be missing much on the pitch. You can't miss what you haven't really seen. But what his makeup is, it looked like he had potential. His loan spell looked strong. So yeah, I feel the price is a bit low. But again, if there is the sell-on clause, and Bayern and M2s are notorious for taking the best players out of the smaller teams in the league, so they might have to pay a bit of money for him. And a bit
Is
like
Ben White going to be £47 million better than keeping Mavropanos? I saw someone again. I'm just quoting someone
like
that asked this question in Terry's stream earlier that James was in as well, and it's a good question. And I think one thing I wanted to mention as well, that what James brought up in that stream as well is, and what you're touching on as well, is that in general, what we seem to be doing, at least when we are getting rid of our younger players now under this new regime under Arteta, is protecting ourselves a bit better. Saving face, not just saving face. I mean, like with these clauses, so that if they do become the next Serge Gnabry, at least we're going to save some face when a club like Bayern Munich comes in to buy him in 2 or 3 years' time. And we are going to be able to then replenish our funds in the future as well.
So I would love to see us put more buyback clauses in the contract of these youngsters as well. Like I look at Donnell Malin, I look at Benacer at Milan, and I'm saying they're ballers.
You mentioned Malin in the stream as well,
So I would like to be able to. Do you know what I mean? So if we are selling Mavropanos for so cheap, I would like to say actually we install a 15 mil buyback clause or something. We might lose, we might pay extra, but at the same time, actually, if we get 20% of that back anyway, then that's now brought it down. Do you know what I mean? So it's just being smart with it. Do you know what I mean? So you could say, right, we've got 20% on there and we've got a buyback clause. So actually, if we give you 15 mil back, we get 20% back of that 15 mil because he's up. Do you know what I mean? Just being a bit more savvy with it and not kind of leaving ourselves in a position where, do you know what I mean, these players go on to do big things and we can't get them back. Because again, it's like, who is it who we was linked with and had a buyback clause? I think Isaac's got a buyback clause, or there was someone where, no, Morata, it happened to Morata as well, didn't it? Where
Real Madrid are notorious for buyback clauses.
Real Madrid, and did they know you were linked with a player?
Barcelona just bought a right back from Betis, that Emerson guy that we was looking at. He had a £9 million buyback clause in him. They've already got 3 or 4 right backs in their squad. They've exercised that buyback clause because his value's already inflated above that 9 million. And watch, they'll probably sell him in this window or the next one.
Yeah, even if you sell him, if you make 5-10 mil extra, you're laughing. Do you know what I mean? So and again, these are the things we need to work on. But just touching on when things can go wrong, as I said, me and you went at it the other day, and just to let everyone know, me and Gunner King have been knowing each other since we were like 13 years old. So we've had these arguments on the regular. It's always love. So you're going to see more of them. But again, we've notoriously done bad business. But I'll be honest, I don't think we've done the worst business. I can think of a guy who left a certain team on a free, and they brought him back for 90 million. And do you know what? He's 1 year away from leaving on a free again. Now that is bad business. Like, do you know what I mean? So much as we've had it bad, I've never seen nothing like it. And I will, just for the sheer banter, I would love to see him. Like, we walk out on a free next year. So it happens in football.
You know what I'm hearing now, that they're going to offer him a ridiculous contract.
They're going to have to.
104 million, I think it is a season. You're going
to have to. You're going to have to do it. Because imagine, as I said, imagine a boy you've brought through. I know he wasn't Man United bred from the start, but he's come from the United ranks. He was there from about 15. So He's come through. He's walked out your club on a free, done what he's done. You've had to buy him back for 90 million, and then he leaves on a free again. You're gonna have to spend. So if they giving that 130 million, they spent mad money on Pogba, but you're gonna have to. Otherwise, it looks ridiculous. You can't. I mean, that's crazy. So, yeah, as I said, I think players do hold a lot of power nowadays. So as much as we do get onto clubs and boards and agents, the players do hold a lot of power. And they've been trying to give Pogba this contract for about 2-3 years. Do you know what I mean? It's not for the. So as much as the fans are going to go mad at United board for it, it's not actually their fault because they have been trying to tie him down for a long time. He just knows the powers with him if he just delays it and delays it and delays it. So, and like you say, if he had signed the contract last year, then
Monday heard you.
Yes, Monday, my brother. What one?
He's not happy about the Pogba talk.
Yeah, and I'll be real. As I said, if he had signed his contract 2 years ago, he might have been looking at a big, just say the overall sum is 70 million, which is still massive. But him delaying it to his last year, you saw him come out 110 million for his new contract. He knows the power's in waiting. So the United fans are going to go mad at United board. But actually, to be honest with them, they've been trying to tie down Pogba for years and years and years, and he will not sign until the time is right for him. So the power is with the players, and we do have to be mindful of that. But what you have to do as a club is, if the player's not playing ball, bye-bye, you got to go. As much as you are the biggest player in this club and we want to build a team around you, you're not holding me to hostage. So, as I said, Arsenal...
I'm sorry, I just want to James.
Yeah, James, love.
Glad that you obviously found my content as well from the channel. I'm definitely going to try and after I finish the show, I'll basically message you through YouTube. I definitely want to chat with you, man. Like you seem like someone I would definitely like to maybe even feature on the show on this one. But obviously, catch you up soon.
There's one thing. Amandi, I want to know, do you have notifications on your phone when anyone mentions Man United? Because you showed no love the whole show. You showed us not one bit of love the whole show. Man says Man United, and all of a sudden you pop up like Beetlejuice, bruv. Like, you got to come better than that. If you're in here snooping, at least hit the like or big up. Like, you're my brother and I love you, but you can't just be in here creeping and sneaking about and not saying nothing, bruv. I'm calling man Beetlejuice from now on. Man called United twice and Monday popped up. But it's all love, brother. It's all love.
Same thing to me on TikTok the other day, because basically TikTok is a very interesting platform. Obviously, there's a bit of a younger demographic going on there.
Yeah.
And basically what I find with this generation is, as soon as a player's good and he doesn't play for your team, you have to compare him to a guy that's in your team and he has to be better. And the most common, you haven't even been on TikTok if you don't at least see one comment comparing Greenwood to Saka or vice versa and all this jazz. So I made a little stitch about it, just like, look, stop comparing these players. They're not the same. They don't play in the same position. But by the way, did you see him play for England? And Omondi was on it like a flash. And he was like, I wasn't actually talking to you, but
Now you're here. No, to be fair, as I said, with that whole comparison thing, I don't like it. Like, if you heard what I said the other day when I mentioned Foden and Saka, I didn't say Saka's better than Foden. My comment was they're both great players, but actually Saka might be more ready to deal with the England squad just because of who he plays for on the weekend. We're not as good as Man City. Hold my hands up. Yeah. We're not as good as Man City. So actually, Saka might suit England better than what Foden suits England at this moment, because Foden's playing in a team which is unbelievable. Do you know what I mean? So that was my thing. I don't want to ever compare them young players. Let's just be happy that England have this crop of players coming through. Do you know what I mean? To your Sakas, your Greenwoods, your Fodens, your Mounts, your Reece James, your Trents. I could go on all day about these players coming through.
Why would you pick this time when they're representing the country?
Yeah.
And even that, to bring in that slander. Do you know what I mean? Like, or those comparisons. It's like, look, we get it. Like, look, Greenwood was unlucky. He was injured.
100%. I think Greenwood's technically the best out of a lot of them. And again, sometimes being technically the best means you don't have the same impact. I think Foden's better than Saka to a certain degree, but I think if Saka has more impact in how he plays, and that's just because he's had to carry Arsenal for 2 seasons. So he's used to having to get the game by the scruff of the neck and drive a team forward. Whereas Foden probably hasn't had to do that as much because Gundogan and Fernandinho and De Bruyne do that.
Players around him,
yeah. So again, it's not a criticism of Foden. He's just never had to. But actually, he's played in higher competitions and at a higher level than Saka's had to play. But Saka's had to say, "Here, Arsenal, get on my shoulders, get on my back, and let me carry you lot." Do you know what I mean? So that's
the thing is, look,
I mean, all brilliant players.
I have not got a single bad thing to say about Greenwood. You know, as a player, like I refuse to start.
I love him. I love Greenwood. Like, 2 feet, unbelievable.
When I see him run as well, like his gait and his technique and the way he shoots, like the way he actually strikes the ball, he reminds me a lot of Van Persie.
Yeah.
Van Persie.
Yeah.
And but he's better with both his feet. You know, he's more ready and willing to use his right foot. I like this kid,
he's
man.
Different.
He's going right to the top. You know, I can't praise the guy highly enough, but he's a striker. And I think what the younger generation see is goals, and they think, oh yeah, well, Saka Greenwood or Greenwood, like the little arrow Saka that they do to be like,
comparison, Saka over Greenwood,
but it's like you're saying, you know, like technically maybe he's up there if not better than Saka.
Greenwood's different.
But he flits in and out of games, and it's not his fault at all. You know, it's just that I think eventually he's going to be a number 9.
Yeah,
you know, I think he's probably like what I was saying about Saka earlier. He's gone through training, the youth academy, the youth setup, always being a number 9, like Nketiah, always playing in a 2-striker system as well. You know, where he maybe had someone behind him who was a bit more physical to do all of the other things, but he's filling out as well. I'm noticing from the start of this season to now, Greenwood has filled out a lot, and he's not. The trick is to make sure he doesn't lose too much of his pace in the process of doing that. But he looks a talent. But the thing is, like, look, the other day Saka played. We were excited as Arsenal fans, and then all we're getting is rival fans being like, "Yeah, but he's not better than Mount. Yeah, but he's not better than Greenwood. Yeah, but he's not better than Foden." Like, when were we saying these things before to begin with? I've never come across I've never come across people that are doing that on a regular basis, you know. And if they do, I'd be like, no, I think technically Foden's a better footballer at this moment, you know, like, and Mount, you can't deny what he's done. You know, Greenwood, maybe it might be a bit more contentious, and I wouldn't argue either convincingly. I would say that there are things that Greenwood clearly does better, being a striker, you know, but there are, you know, the way that Saka picked up the ball in his own half the other day, to take it in, to drive at players, you could then see the players backpedaling. I'm not saying Greenwood can't dribble, by the way. I'm not saying Greenwood can't travel with the ball, but I'm saying with that intensity, you know, with that level of drive, you know, like, it's just like, I am getting to that destination and committing other players and drawing the other players in, opening up the gaps and the spaces for the other attacking midfielders. That's not one of Greenwood's strengths. I'm not saying he can't dribble, and I'm not saying he can't pick up the ball and travel with it, because I've seen him do that as well. You know, but I'm just saying, being the more creative player, you know, that Saka is, I would say he can do that as good as any of those players. You know, like
100%. And again, it's styles, is it? It's a bit like the Pepe argument. Do you know what I mean? Not saying Greenwood and Pepe are the same, but and to be fair, do you know what? I don't want Greenwood in his own half picking at the ball, trying to turn and play and drive at the pitch. Let me just give you that ball on the edge of the box, and you just do what you do. You get half a yard and you let it off. Like, and it's the same thing with Pepe, where Saka's got a bit more. And again, what Saka brings, it, he can play. He's filled in at left back. He's filled in at right back, centre mid. He's probably just an all-round good footballer. He can play anywhere on the pitch. I think Saka's played centre mid, attacking midfielder, left wing, right wing, left back and right back, and wing backs. Like, he was. Do you remember the old school Football Manager game where Luis Enrique could play everywhere on the pitch?
Oh yeah.
That's like
as well.
The whole thing was just green. Anyway, he could play anywhere green. So Saka's probably got that where he's just a good footballer. But again, like, all them boys have got their talent, and actually, I can't wait to see them all link up in a competition and actually play. I'll just pray England. Don't get me wrong. I need Southgate to go, and I want to see them boys go.
What you said about Arsenal, and you named like 3 or 4 players, you know, we said Martinelli, ESR, Saka, Pepe as being like the spine that you build the team around. What's really exciting about England is, you know, your Greenwoods, your Sakas, your Mounts, your Mounts, your Grealishes, you know,
yeah,
like
Foden. This one frustrated.
Those five. Actually, I'm going to put Sancho in there as well.
Oh, Jaden. Oh, listen, you think we're not even calling for. You still got Smith Rowe, James Maddison in there as well, who can't even get a sniff. Like, and it's understandable. Do you know? Like this team, England, and this is what's the frustration with me watching England at the moment. As I said, I don't care if England win it or not. I'm not expecting England to win it, but inspire me. Like, make me believe in 2 years' time or in 4 years' time, this team's unplayable. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm looking at it. We can have like if you watch France's team now, France, Portugal, Italy, they're a lot of the favourites for me for this tournament. And their team's not at the end of their career, but you look at Benzema, he's coming to an end. Griezmann's a good age. Pogba's a good age. Kante's in his 30s, I think now, or near his 30s. That France team's aging together. So they've dominated in this spell. They're coming to an end. Don't get me wrong, their new cycle is looking good. Upamecano, Mukiele, Camavinga, they've got players coming. But actually, they're going to come in. But they're going to come in. They're going to come in. Just say in 6 years' time, they're going to come in fresh. Once Pogba and all that leave, them guys come into their first tournament.
That's it.
They're going to be the same age as Saka, Greenwood, and all them boys. And them boys could have 6 years international football ahead experience on them. So in 6 years' time, ability-wise, they might be equal. But this England crop could have 6 years' worth of experience to go into that tournament. So to me, that's why you put them boys in from now, because actually Henderson's not going to be there in 6 years. And we're not going to win the team this year with Henderson in it. Bin him off. Let Bellingham play. Look, you know what I mean?
I think
that's
this is how
why inspire me by playing them youngsters now. In 6 years, these boys are going to be different.
We've definitely come away from the Arsenal talking, you know, but whilst we're on it, you know, obviously I feel really similar. First of all, let me get to this comment by Amon, because it's a really good question, genuinely. Now is your chance. If you're a defender, who would you prefer to play against, Saka or Foden?
What did I say the other day, Monday? I said none of them.
I think Foden's. When I watch Foden, right, I see a number 10 or an advanced 8, who, because City are so stacked, concentrated with unbelievable talent for right now in terms of your Gundermans, your De Bruynes, your Bernardo Silva's even being shifted out to the right because of the previous two aforementioned. So for Foden to play in that natural position, he's not. He's being shoehorned into the wider areas of the right or the left of their team, in lieu of those guys being where he is going to be in the future. You can see that. Make no mistake about it, you know. But so whereas Saka is playing more in his natural position. And I think that's why he had that impact. Because
I'll be honest. I'll be honest, Monday. I'll answer your question on Monday. So Gunner, you finish and I'll answer Mondy's question. Go on.
I think Foden's done it more in the Premier League. You know, obviously he's had some Champions League experience playing in the wide areas, but he plays very much. You can tell the difference. Like when I played as a winger, you could tell in my head, or I was a striker. But you know, in my manager's first 11, I was a winger, so I'm always looking to cut inside whatever foot I'm on, and I'm looking to shoot, even if I'm on the right side, cutting in onto my left foot, because I have that mentality of I've played as a striker. I've always been a striker, so all of my instincts are geared towards being a striker. I feel Foden is really similar when you see him in the wide areas, whereas Saka has all the instincts of a wide player. You know, and again, when you look at how that goal came to being, it was the instinct of picking up the ball, traveling, committing defenders, drawing them out of position with your dangerous running, and then picking out the right final pass or shot at the end of
it. Definitely. And on Monday, I will answer it. I'll be honest, I will answer it. If I'm playing against England, I'd rather face Foden than Saka. And that's not saying Saka's better than Foden.
No, it's not.
What it is just because of the system England play, I know Saka's going to be more relentless against me. He's going to come and get the ball, demand the ball, and go at me. I feel with Foden in that England team, if they can't find him in certain positions, I might have an easier evening because he's not going to get the ball in certain positions. And that's not, it's not criticism of Foden at all. I just feel this England team isn't geared up for Foden to be on the wing and get the best out of him. I feel Saka's more of a player who's going to make something happen out of nothing, whereas Foden, not saying he's waiting for the ball, but if you get him in the right areas with the right players around him, he's going to absolutely murder you. But again, that might only happen 3 times in a match where, I know Saka's going to pick the ball up 10 times and come at me, which gives me more to do in that 90 minutes. So that's my answer.
In Grealish and Saka, and I think, I like pretty much agree, as well. I think in Grealish and Saka, what you've got is, and I would add Sancho to this mix who we haven't seen play, which is
Sancho, man.
But
what a player!
I would say is these guys, right? What they can do is they can pick out passes, they can pick out crosses. They've got that vision. Maybe not to a standard of Foden, kind of picking out the passes and things, and the Mount as well. And the off the ball movement, maybe with Mount and Foden might be slightly better. But with the ball, they can also be direct, and that's what the others can't do. So it's not about saying Foden's better than Saka. It's just Foden can do that in a way that other players can't. If you look at Germany's left back is Goossens, who plays at Atalanta. This guy's an attacking fullback. This guy, he camps in the opposition's half more. Yeah. And if you look at Germany's centre backs, particularly Hummels, as well as Matthias Ginter, they're not the quickest. So if Goossens is going forward and leaving space behind him, and these centre backs aren't the quickest to move across one, what would you rather? A guy who's waiting to receive the ball, a guy can pick it up and run into that space, draw those centre backs out and leave space for Kane. Do you see what I mean? I think for the Germany game, it's worth looking at him. I don't know if he's going to start. And to be honest, it surprised me that he started. It surprised me.
Yeah, I thought Sancho was starting that game because, again, you looked at the bench. It was Sancho was on the bench the game before. Once they had mega trade, I think about Sancho goes in, Grealish goes in, and Saka then is on the bench because he wasn't on the bench the second game, was he? He was on the bench the first game, wasn't on the bench the second. So to see him start, I was surprised. I don't think he will start against Germany. And again, I think this is down to... I'm not going to talk too much. We'll see what Southgate comes out with. I think the safe option is to go back with Foden. But as I said before, for me, I would rather see Mason Mount play in an 8 to allow Grealish, Foden, Sancho or Saka, Harry Kane on the pitch. I just want to see attacking football. I know it's not might not win tournament.
That make us too open in the centre of the park.
The problem is now to trial that against Germany is too late. You could have been trialing that against Czech Republic or trialing it against Scotland. And I feel this is the problem. Like we're saying that would be too open, but Calvin Phillips sat next to Declan Rice. Calvin Phillips has been up the pitch and running about like do you know what I mean? Doing whatever he's doing. So it's like sometimes we're too focused on, we got to get this in here and that person in there. Sometimes the maddest combinations can be the best combinations. And I'd say our best combination we've had since Vieira and Gilberto. Actually, I like Fabregas and Gilberto. Okay, maybe not that far back, but the surprising duo we had where we weren't expecting it was Coquelin and Cazorla. It was a combined height of about 8 foot, the two midgets. You know what I mean? Cazorla's so tiny, and because Coquelin's not the biggest midfielder, he was hard hitting, but actually, Coquelin could play a bit of ball. He wasn't the best on the ball, but what he was there to do is break up the play and get it to Cazorla. That was being our best midfield pairing for a long time. Do you know what I mean? It was our best midfield pairing for ages. So it's like sometimes you can stumble upon things, and that happened by chance because of injury. We called Coquelin back from Charlton. Yeah, and Cazorla, who was playing on the wing for us, went and sat in centre midfield, and all of a sudden it clicked. So to me, sometimes you take a gamble. What looks right on paper doesn't always blend well.
But the thing is, he should have been doing that gambling in the system, as you're saying, in friendlies and in the run up to the tournament.
And to be wrong, he played
even in the 2 or 3 earlier games. Like in
once you beat Croatia, you can now experiment a bit. Once you beat Croatia, you can now experiment. Exactly. Do you know what I mean? Especially with 3 teams going through, potentially if you get 4 points, you're almost guaranteed in. So once you beat Croatia, you can experiment against Scotland. And then if you win that one, you can experiment even more against Czech Republic. Do you know what I mean? So, to me, it's been a bit negative.
I've got a feeling that James is right, that Southgate's going to do this with the back three as well.
Yeah, he's going to go negative.
Because I think what he might do is put Walker on the end of that back three.
Yeah, he will. He will.
Maybe put Saka in front of him as that right wing back.
I don't think Saka gets there. I feel he plays Reece James at the right wing back. I don't think Saka starts, especially if we go in a free. He won't even risk Saka there. He'll go Shaw and James. Even Trippier might then get a shout on the right wing back starts, but he don't play Saka. He bought too many right backs to play Saka that deep. So yeah,
we will see.
See how we get on, guys. I love all the comments. Thank you for the engagement. It's been some brilliant comments today, man.
Absolutely, man. James, I'm definitely going to reach out to you. And yeah, because I definitely enjoyed listening to you on the terrace earlier after I went on. But yeah, no, the other thing that I wanted to mention,
can you put Charles's comment on there quickly? I like that comment.
Where is it?
His brother Mondi.
The LFC one. I saw that earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I kind of scrolled past that, man.
Yeah. And I'm not saying he's right or wrong, but again, that's his opinion as a Liverpool fan. And
listen, I mean,
England is a Liverpool fan.
England are so blessed at the moment.
Oh, we've got so much talent.
I don't slander these guys. I don't hate them, because they represent our country at the end of the day. Like, I'm not the most patriotic for my own reasons, but as far as I'm concerned, like, if you represent our country, then, I'm going to get behind you. And look, even watching the likes of Greenwood, Mount, like watching the likes of Foden, watching the likes of Sancho, watching the likes of Grealish, playing at club level, it's undeniable, what you're seeing in terms of talent. So, guys, look, it's been great to chat with you today. We've gone slightly over and slightly off tangent from Arsenal a bit.
And I'm not surprised when it comes to me and you at all.
Hit the like, exactly, yeah. Hit the likes. Don't forget. Please subscribe. And also, what I wanted to do very quickly is mention that it is official. Obviously, we are part of the FTB Sport family. But the Armoury TV is here. It is coming on the 30th of June. Next Wednesday for the Gunslingers show will be our official launch. So yeah, I just wanted to give a quick glimpse at the preview for that, just to wet the whistles a bit. So here we go. Trio.
Do you know what? Seeing that Freddie kit, the kit with Freddie Udenberg, and that's what our new kit's rumored to look like, isn't it? You're on mute, bruv. You're on mute, Chris. Yeah.
No, I hope it does. Fingers crossed, man. Sorry for the lag, guys. But yeah, no, I really love that kit, man. It was saucy, yeah, no doubt. But yeah, guys, it's been good to have everyone on. I'll be back tomorrow.
Yeah, I think you are. It's Friday, isn't it?
Yeah. Sorry, I lost bearing of the days there. So I'll be back tomorrow. With another guest, talking about stories that have developed. Enjoy the rest of your evening, guys.
Love everyone. Thanks for the comments. It's been a great show. Gunnar, thanks for having me on again, bruv. As always, great content. And just hopefully, because it was earmarked Friday, we should have a signing done. So let's see if we get something tied up.
Fingers crossed, man, and everything else. But yeah, we're out, guys.
Enough. Yo, Gunner, you still got us on live, bruv.